Alright. So. Let's finish this, shall we? So, ghosts. 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 Third party is impossible, but if we pit that with juror number 6, who said there was Vance.
Objection!
Those two statements are clearly contradictory, Your Honor. Ah, what do you mean, defense? What? There's something wrong with my reasoning? Me? Did I say something wrong? Let's really consider the facts of the case. One of the major reasons why my client is the biggest suspect in this case is because of our assumptions about the crime scene's entrances. Yes, the crime scene's entrances. Main entrance, bookcase passage, and the fireplace passage. The main entrance was locked at the time, so it's out of the question. The bookcase passage would require prior knowledge of the embezzlement trial to use. Which only leaves the fireplace passage. The problem, however, is that we can only prove that the victim used that passage. If the killer was to also use it, why not just kill Cory Rupture in the hidden bunker? Anyway, you slice it, it's highly unlikely for a third party to have used any entrance. Or is this going to disprove the fact that someone... Is this going to disprove the why not kill him downstairs part? Yes, that would seem to be the case. However, what if our assumptions are wrong? What if there's a fourth entrance that the third party could have used? No, we're going this way, okay. Yeah, are you really that desperate? Such a place actually existed. You or the prosecution would have brought it up. Unfortunately, that's impossible. After all, we can't bring up such an entrance if we only just learned about it. Are you suggesting? Vince? That's right, Juror 6. All along, we've all thought there were only 3 entrances to the crime scene. Main entrance and the 2 secret entrances. However, a new possibility has just opened up. The unused vents above the crime scene may very well hold a 3rd secret entrance. That's a lot of secret entrances. Order, order. Your Honor, I request Juror 6 submit the courthouse blueprints to the court. Your request is denied. What? Why? I said it earlier, did I not? No new evidence can be submitted during submission examinations. Damn it, I really need those blueprints. Your Honor, if I may make a suggestion. What is it, Mr. Wright? Well, the court might not be willing to accept new evidence. The defense and prosecution and jury technically aren't members of the court, are they? We're twisting the rules here, but by all accounts, you're correct, Mr. Wright. So, court can't accept new evidence, but... So we can accept the new evidence, but we can't present it to the court. That's a technicality, but it works. And there comes Mr. Wright with the save. You have to be careful, he can't always save you like that in the future. I like the way you're writing... I really like... I don't know about you all watch this, but I really like the way you're writing Apollo. As a follow-up to Apollo Justice. I really like this. Very well, I will allow the closing arguments to be suspended, that Mr. Wright may share the courthouse blueprints with counsels. Your Honor, if I may be allowed to speak. Mr. Edgeworth, you're still here. Normally, the opposing counsel is not allowed to speak while one side is in the middle of performing their summation examination. However, I trust that shouldn't matter since closing arguments have been suspended. Explains why he's been so silent. While Mr. Wright is busy getting the blueprints from juror number 6, it should be extremely easy to verify the existence of these unused vents. How so, Mr. Edgeworth? We have to, walk 10 feet, Your Honor. What you do is send Miss Skye to the scene to look for these vents. She'll prove whether or not this 3rd secret passageway exists. And the verdict's going to be that they're, at the ceiling or something. So long as you are aware that the court cannot accept the results of this investigation, unless the defense is able to force court proceedings to continue, I suppose nothing is stopping you from doing so. Excellent, Your Honor. Let's hope she comes back with something that'll help me. Ah! Thud. What? What is this? I'm not the only one who heard that, right? I'm sure I'm going to be all right. That means they are definitely up high. The vents. Ah, good. Mr. Wright has arrived. Would you bring the requested blueprints? They're right here, Your Honor. What? These blueprints are rather simple, aren't they? Indeed, they don't exactly give much information. They do at least point to the idea that there might be a third secret passage. Now it's just up to Emma to confirm it. Well, the blueprints are yours, Apollo. Do with them what you will. We'll have to get back to the jury room now. I'll leave the rest to the capable courtroom. Now then, all we need to do is wait for Detective Skye to recover. That is very much not helpful. Yeah, there's not much more to see in the vent blueprints other than the screenshot that they showed. Emma, you good? Miss Skye, would you please reveal the results of your investigation? You... Apollo, you jerk! What, me? What did I do? I was bumping around and bruising myself inside those vents enough as it was. Then suddenly I fell through the ceiling and onto the floor. To top it all off, I cut my hand on something sharp when I started falling. It's all your fault. But I'm not the one who told you to crawl through the Kadonk. Ahem. Your results, if you please, Miss Skye. Right away, Mr. Edgeworth. Oh, sure. Kiss up to the person who's actually responsible. First, I wasn't actually able to find the darn vents in the first place. I basically just gave up and looked for an entrance outside the courthouse. And were you able to find such an entrance? Yeah. Behind the courthouse, there's a grate that leads inside the unused vents. It's just barely big enough for a person to fit inside. I say, I did not appreciate feeling claustrophobic in there, Your Honor. Why did I say Your Honor, Apollo? Donk. Will you stop throwing snackies at me? Get snacky and prick. In any case, I crawled my way through the vents, trying to figure out where I was going. Then suddenly I started falling into the crime scene. So I was right. There's a third secret entrance into the crime scene. Seems like they tried to cover up the entrance into the vents with some ceiling tiles, turning it into a trap door of sorts. You mentioned cutting your hand on something earlier. Do you know what exactly it was? If I had to guess, probably the edge of the trap door itself. That thing is sharp. A lot sharper than it seems. Ugh. That sounds painful. It's not all bad, however. I was crawling around, I found a device attached to them inside the vents themselves. It's gonna be the Vera device. A device? Yeah, it seemed rather out of place, just kind of bolted to the ceiling of the vent. I decided to unscrew it and take it with me. Thought it might be useful evidence. May I please be allowed to see this device you found? Feast your eyes on this. There it is. What is that? Some kind of pulley? Mr. Edgeworth, are you okay? Detective Skye, are you sure you found this pulley in the vents? Mr. Edgeworth, what's wrong? Why do you have that look? Just answer the question, Detective. What's going on with Edgeworth? His attitude has completely changed. That's the pulley that Gambit submitted. Yeah, I'm sure that's where I found it. Miss Skye, Mr. Justice, you don't realize. I've seen an identical pulley to this one recently. Used as evidence in the larceny trial against Manny Steele. What? Oh, yeah. The turn is tabling. Order. Fortunately, the court still cannot accept this evidence until proceedings continue. Even so, I'd still better take note of this. Motorized pulley. And there we have it. The theory is coming to pass, baby. It's all coming up. Yeah, baby. When Gambit pushed the switch, the device go brrr, and Rupture go brrr. What are your thoughts on the information we just found? The court can accept the evidence until the closing arguments are finished. But you're not the judge. Can you honestly use the same claims as before to justify your stances? It seems further explanation will be required from the jury. Summation examination is hereby no longer suspended. Unpaused. Jurors will have to change their statements now. That will give me a new opportunity to attack. It's very faint, but I'm starting to see it. The path to the truth. Event or no event, the defendant had the strength to break the victim's neck. Alright, round 2. Hold on, you can't say that for certain. Oh, why ever not? Because we've just proven the existence of a third secret passageway. There's every possibility that the real killer used it to enter the room. But I still find it rather hard to believe. The chances that a third party as strong as the defendant crawled through those vents. It doesn't matter what the chances are. You can't deny that it's a possibility. But it all seems rather convenient, don't you think? A man as strong as the defendant just so happened to crawl through the hidden vents. I'm also just realizing that, someone mentioned in the comments a few parts back that the other pud name behind the defendant, which they don't realize how cool they are for getting this before we even saw the evidence of it come to pass. It's I just fixated on the eerie part of it, but Hercules. Hercules Eerie? I think there's a definitely intentional Hercules reference in there. You can see it now because he is unfathomably strong. He just so happened to have a grudge against the victim, but he just so happened to not have been seen at all that day. It's a little convenient that all those things happened at once. Which is a point, the explanation does seem a bit contrived. You also read it by the idea that there would just happen to be two men of unusual strength in opposite rooms from each other who had never met. And somehow nobody knew the second man ever existed. Unless you can prove the second strong man actually existed, I'm afraid my decision will remain the same. Yeah, I should have known this was coming. I need more proof. I think there are two possible ways I could try to prove my point. Either I prove that this second strong man was actually in the courthouse. I could prove that strength had no factor in this crime at all. Proving just one of those things would immensely help my case. Which one would be more possible, I wonder? I don't think I have what it takes to prove it on my own. Just have to keep in mind what the other jurors say. I'm sure if I keep poking enough holes in their arguments, a new possibility will come to light. Evidence. What about the pulley that Detective Sky just found? Proves that something was going on in those vents. I think that's gonna be enough to convince me. Think again. Always a stubborn one he is. All we know for certain is that somebody bolted a pulley into the vents. No, why it was there. What there? Even when? When? Make my point clear in the form of a simple question. Can you prove when the pulley was put inside those vents? Well, no, but nothing, kid. That pulley could have been put inside those vents at any possible time. Days, weeks, months. Possibly even years. Hell, it could have been put in there when the vents were first being built. Okay, that was a stretch. Trust me, kid, I've been to a lot of trials. I've seen a lot of attorneys try to make mountains out of molehills. This isn't an insignificant detail. There's a real possibility someone was in those vents. Why are you so persistent on this? If you're so sure about this, then tell us, smarty pants. Tell us who was in the vents that day, come on. I'm not sure yet. See, I knew you were just bluffing. Until you can prove someone was in those vents, we have nothing more to talk about. He's right. Completely clueless about who was in those vents. It's not like the pulley can really prove there was someone in there. I wonder, am I just on the wrong track of thinking? Is there another way to prove who was in those vents? I'm gonna get one of the other jurors to give me a clue. And we'll see how Juror 2 thinks when I pit him against someone else. And cut her hand. I feel very bad for Miss Sky as well, Juror 3. Still, it's necessary to find the truth. No hard feelings, right, Emma? Katonk! Yeah, there it is. Should have seen that one coming. I'm just wondering what we even learned by sending her in there. Well, aside from confirming my theory about a third secret passage, perhaps Emma's injuries can give us a few vital clues. Huh? How so? Let's really look over all the ways she got hurt. She got multiple bruises from bumping around in those claustrophobic vents. It's safe to say anyone going through those vents would get similar bruises. Okay, makes sense. Secondly, Emma cut her hand on the edge of the trapdoor. It shows the edge of the trapdoor is very sharp. I can hardly imagine. Thirdly, she fell right through the trapdoor. This proves that it was absolutely possible for the vents to be used as a secret passage. Oh man, falling so far must hurt so much. Multiple bruises on his back and extremities. Are you gonna be okay, Juror 3? Kadonk. Is he gonna be okay? He's not the one who fell out of a vent. Sorry. Are we really going with the idea that the pulley go brrr and dragged Rupture into the courthouse? That would be a way around it. That would be a bit whack, but that would be certainly a way around it. After she was in such a great mood yesterday. Huh? Can you keep focused at the trial at hand, please? A man's life is at stake. Hey, it's not like I'm some confused grandma going on about unrelated topics. What I'm talking about is also important, you know. What does that have to do with this trial? You heard what the prosecution said, right, about the pulley? Right. Just like the one used in the larceny trial. Exactly, I don't see this as just a coincidence. Whoever the pulley in the vents must be the person responsible for the larceny. I don't really know what she's talking about here. I feel like I need more context. In what way was the pulley related to the larceny? Oh, well, it's really simple, actually. Aiden made a theory that the real culprit snuck into the window, and the pulley was used to climb down to that point from the roof. It's like something out of a lame spy movie. Now, come off it. You know his theory was proven wrong. No, it wasn't. Maybe his reasoning, sure, but not his theory. Oh, for the love of... Look, he messed up, okay? Just accept that. His theory really was correct, then why did the remote not work, huh? A remote? Come on, you can't just be blind to this. It can't be a coincidence. Please, everyone, you have to see it too. Simp. A remote was used during the trial, I wonder. Press further. Juror 4. What? Well, you and Juror 2 were arguing not long ago, literally seconds ago. There's something about a remote being brought up. Oh, yes, well, about that. It all comes back to Aiden's theory, you see? About how that thief got in the building. A remote was found at the scene, and Aiden thought it was used to control the pulley. I see. This theory was a complete myth. He used the remote during the trial. Doesn't prove anything. The culprit could have used a different remote. Yes, I think I'm finally starting to see the truth. Juror 4, what you just said about the remote? I'd like you to change your statement to reflect this new information. Huh? Oh, sure. Just know it. This statement will provide a valuable clue going forward. The remote could be used to control the pulley. So does this clash against 1 or 2? Let's press U. That's what I'm trying to figure out too, Juror 5. You think it could be tied to the murder in any way? I mean, I guess it's possible that it could be, but what evidence do we really have that it is? Let's really think about this logically. About a week before the murder, the defendant started hearing strange noises. Well, we can tell those strange noises must have been coming from the vents. Right, that's what I told the defendant, as you'll recall. Of course, then that begs the question. What exactly did the defendant hear? I know, it could have been the victim that the defendant heard. After all, the victim was staying at the underground bunker, right? Unfortunately, that's impossible. After all, Jurist 6 investigated the underground bunker a week ago. And he did not find Core Rupture down there. That's right, I would have seen him during my investigation. This means the victim didn't stay in the bunker until after Jurist 6's investigation. In other words, after the defendant had already started hearing noises. Oh, well, I'm stumped then. Here's what I believe happened. The noise the defendant heard came from someone setting up the pulley in the vents. This is the truth about the strange noise the victim has been hearing. I guess that makes sense, but still, that's hardly conclusive proof it's connected to the murder. So Juror 5 wants something more conclusive, huh? Wonder, do I have evidence tying the pulley to the murder? Can we present the, rope, perhaps? Very well, Juror 5. Want evidence tying the pulley to the crime? I'll give you the evidence you want. You will? You take a closer look at this pulley. It is truly tied to the murder of Core Rupture. There should be a piece of evidence that should explain the oddity about this pulley. Oh. You need to actually look at this. The rope inside has a frayed end. There we go. Alright. Well, okay. I'm willing to hear what you have to say. Alright, here goes nothing. The evidence that connects the pulley to the murder of Core Rupture? The rope. I would like to bring the jury's attention to the actual pulley itself. Do you notice how the end of the rope is attached to it is frayed? Almost as if the rest of it has been cut off. Yes, I see. How rather peculiar that is. I believe I can explain where the rest of that rope went. If you will look at the rope that was used to murder Core Rupture, notice that the end is similarly frayed as well. That? It would be extremely easy to check if the two ropes are actually one and the same. Therefore, there's only one conclusion to be drawn. The rope that was used to kill the victim came from this pulley. Hold on. But then that would mean that the defendant cut the rope from this pulley. Then he used it as a weapon of murder. Oh, you're gonna give me a good statement to clash with. Wait, hold on. That's not what I... Your Honor, I'd like to be allowed to change my statement. Great. Now she has the wrong idea. Still, a new statement is a new statement. Wonder if I can use what she says to my advantage. Who said... Juror 3. Let's pit you with Juror 3. Objection! There's a clear connection between these two statements, Your Honor. What, was that true, defense? Oh no, I swear I didn't do anything wrong. Huh? Wait, what did I say wrong? There's one mystery that's gone unanswered by the prosecution for a while. Where exactly did the murder weapon come from? However, it wasn't too long ago that a new possibility opened up to us. Right, the rope came from the pulley, right? That's the most likely theory, yes. However, that opens up a new question. How did the rope get from the pulley end up around the victim's neck? Right. I mean, the pulley was in the vents at the time. I don't really think the killer could have just reached in there and pulled out the pulley's rope while the struggle was happening. That's right, such a thing would be impossible. However, if you take a look at the rope itself, it's clear it was cut at some point. Right, so then the answer is obvious, isn't it? The killer must have used a knife to cut the rope from the pulley. And they brought it with them to kill the victim. Pretty clever, huh? I don't know, it still seems iffy to me. How could someone bring a knife to the courthouse? By disguising it as a key. Obviously, knife or not, the point remains the same. The assumption is that the rope was deliberately cut ahead of time, and then used in a struggle between the killer and the victim. Given the facts as we know, this would have to be the case. Right, so what's the problem? Well, it's a problem that raises another question, actually. What if the pulley's rope being cut wasn't a deliberate action? What if it wasn't deliberate? Let's recall the details Miss Guide found in her investigation of the vents themselves. some point she fell through the vents into the crime scene. When she did, something happened to her that puts everything into new perspective. I was bumping around and bruising myself inside the vents enough as it was, and suddenly I fell through the ceiling and onto the floor. Top it off, I cut my hand on something sharp when I started falling. If I had to guess, probably the edge of the trapdoor itself. That thing is sharp, a lot sharper than it seems. As Emma has made clear with her earlier demonstration, the edge of the trapdoor is rather sharp indeed. Sharp enough, perhaps, to even cut a rope. Do you mean? The rope being cut was never part of the plan. While it was being reeled in, the rope got caught on the edge of the trapdoor. When it got caught on the edge, that is when it got cut. I see. That would explain it. What are your thoughts, Juror 5? You were the one who suggested the rope was cut. I'm not entirely sure I buy it. What's the issue with my theory, Juror 5? If the rope rubbed up against the edge of the trapdoor, it's not that easy. There would have to have been some sort of weight attached to the rope for that to happen. A weight attached to the rope at the time of the murder. I have an idea what that might be. Core rupture. Alright, Juror 5, I'm willing to show you proof. Proof that there was something of great weight attached to the rope which was cut. When it was cut. Ooh, I'm most excited to see what you come up with. Time to put your money where your mouth is, Justice. I have to present evidence. Autopsy report? Autopsy report. What I'm about to propose is completely insane. Debating with myself about whether or not it's even possible. If I'm right, this really is the truth I'm being led to. It would change everything we think we know about this case. Defense, is something wrong? You look like you've gone a bit pale. Your Honor, the defense has come to a realization. A realization, you say? About what? What was weighing down the rope, Your Honor? Because the answer will change the very foundations of this case. What do you mean? What was hanging from it? Anything at the crime scene that was heavy enough to weigh down the rope is the victim. Core rupture. Hang on, defense. What is it you're trying to say? Are you implying that... Well, this time, the assumption has been that the victim was killed with a rope that was first cut from some unknown source. But the truth is, it actually happened in reverse. The police rope was only cut after it was used to hang the victim, causing his death. That's completely absurd! Nego! Order, please, everyone, order! This is completely ludicrous! I followed the clues to the truth as much as I could, Your Honor. This is where they've led me. But if he was hung, are you saying that this was a suicide? Unfortunately, there's no way this crime could have been a suicide. As the prosecution has stated, there are multiple bruises on the victim at various points. Not to mention there's a large bruise right on the side of the victim's head. Almost as if he was attacked by some sort of blunt object. Besides, the victim really was going to hang himself. Why do it with a pulley, inside a judge's chambers? Anyway, look at it, this reeks of foul play. But then how did the killer get the victim set up to the pulley? Wouldn't he fight back? I believe the autopsy report holds the answer to that question as well. It comes back to the bruise on the side of the victim's head. The victim may have been hit in the head with something, and it was not enough to actually kill him. Instead, this attack simply knocked him unconscious. He really was pulled through the vents. From there, the killer was able to set up their dubious plan. They tied the pulley's rope around the victim's neck. And they used the pulley to hang him, execution style. Sounds horrible. However, the killer made one crucial mistake that they did not intend. With the victim's body now swaying on the rope, it acted as a pendulum, ground against the edge of the trapdoor and cut. This caused the rope to rub against the edge of the trapdoor. When the rope finally snapped, thud. Was Judgy the one in charge of the past case? And then the plot was to frame Judgy for Rupture's murder by hanging him in Judgy's chambers. Judgy, what's going on there? Judgy, please don't tell me the ghost got you. Tell me you're okay. Ah! We be cooking. More than likely, the victim was sent flying backwards. It's at this point that the defendant's head made contact with the fireplace, thus causing the wound on the back of his head. The rest, as they say, is history. I see. That explains quite a bit. And not everything. What? Your Honor, if I may be allowed to revise my statement, I'd like to address the flaw in the defense's logic. You gotta be kidding me. Will she ever give up? Oh well, it's progress at least. At least now I'm starting to form a viable theory. Oh boy. Being really stubborn right now, you know that. Hey, I'm just trying to be thorough. Trust me, working out the kinks in your theory will be better now rather than later. Guess she has a point. I don't need the perfect proof about what happened right now, Mr. Justice. I'm just trying to help you make your theory more cohesive. I like you! Is it weird that I genuinely want to meet these characters in face-to-face at some point? I have a funny way of showing it. If I understand your theory so far, it goes something like this. The victim was knocked out by the real culprit, and the killer started reeling in the victim with the pulley, which caused the victim to be hung, snapping his neck instantly. That is pretty much the gist of it, yeah. However, in order for that to be possible at all, there's something you must address. The victim would need to fall in order to be hung. That's right. As I said before, given the pulley's position, there's only one place he could fall. From the ceiling itself. That's right, I wouldn't be convinced otherwise. You'd prove that your theory is even possible to begin with. Otherwise, there's no way I can justify siding with you on this issue. Proof that my theory is possible. Focus upon, you don't need to prove that this is what happened just yet. What you need to do is prove that's even possible at all. When in doubt, you know what to do. Look over the other juror statements for clues. Oh, you fell? Juror 6, focus on the trial, if you please. Ah, my boy! That's a fierce look in your eyes. My apologies, it's not like me to ramble on about unrelated topics. As I said, it was my bruises that was what brought on that sudden thought. Your bruises? Ah, yes. You see, it was not just a hidden bunker I investigated that day. Let me guess, you also investigated the vents as well. Indeed. It was quite the unpleasant experience, let me tell you. After all, I had trouble even finding the vents to begin with. None of the ceiling tiles budged, no matter how hard I tried. And how'd you even get inside? I eventually gave up and used the outside entrance. I see. And I guess I crawled through those tiny vents until I reached the chambers. At which point I was all too happy to finally get out of there. What is wrong with the vents? I forgot my flashlight. It was dark, I was cramped, and I hit my head on something. I wonder if the police what he hit his head on. The bumping around I was doing in there, I got horribly bruised. Indeed, it does sound like an awful experience. I wonder. The defendant keeps mentioning the bruises he got in the vents. Maybe somehow related to the case at all? Sure. Juror 6. Oh, what's that look all of a sudden? Is there something wrong with the vents? Juror 6 keeps mentioning that he received bruises from crawling through the vents. Right. It was so dark and cramped in there. The court will recall Detective Sky also received similar bruises as well, while traveling through the exact same vents. Indeed, it would seem the cramped nature of those vents tends to inflict harm upon those who are trapped within. I agree, Your Honor. It's this fact that is extremely important to this case, Your Honor. Ah, I've seen that devilish look in your eyes throughout the trial. You used to present heavy evidence, don't you? Yes, I do, Juror 6. The truth that this reveals could be pretty big. I believe this evidence relates to the bruises received by Jurist 6 and Miss Sky. Autopsy. As we know, Jurist 6 and Miss Sky's bruises were caused by the cramped events. Alright, because the two of us were bumping around in there. However, this new info actually puts old evidence into a different context. After all, they're not the only two we know who got bruised up, are they? You mean? It's all right there in the autopsy report. The day of the murder, the victim suffered multiple bruises to various areas. The evidence speaks for itself, don't you think? Do you mean to suggest? Prosecution suggests that the victim got these bruises from a struggle. The truth is that the victim was inside the vents on the day of the murder. Order. I see. Your Honor, given the new information that has come to light, I have to revise my statement with this new information. Very well, Jurist 6, you may do just that. Getting so close I can feel it. Time to start pitting the jurors against each other. Let's pit you against Jurist 6.
Objection!
These two statements show a clear discrepancy, Your Honor. You've noticed something, Mr. Justice.
What? Again?
Oh dear, did I once again say something wrong? Juror 2 believes that there's no proof anyone was in the vents on the day of the murder. However, we know now that that's not true. After all, the bruises on the victim would seem to indicate otherwise. Right, we just discussed this not too long ago. After all, the young detective and I were all bruised after climbing through the vents. Victim's bruises could also be from climbing around in those vents.
That's...
Precisely, Juror 6. Of course, that leads to one more major discrepancy in the facts. And what is that, Mr. Justice? The provisions in the bunker, Your Honor. These provisions would seem to indicate that Corey Rupture was in the bunker on that day. Yet from the bruises seen during the autopsy, it would seem that he was nowhere near the bunker at the time. But it would.
Hold on, there's one problem I have with that.
Sure, the bruises could indicate that the victim was in the vents. Can hardly be considered conclusive proof. That's where you're wrong, Juror 2. We already have all the evidence we need, thanks to Detective Sky.
What? Me?
Recall that Miss Sky fell out of the vents after traveling through them for a bit. When she fell onto the ground, she landed with a very big thud.
Get on. Stop being so smug about that. Well, so what?
What did the detective falling out of the vents have to do with anything? It's actually very simple. Please recall the defendant's earlier testimony. The day of the murder, I was in my chambers, filing some paperwork. The trial ending early, I was looking forward to having some extra free time to get work done. Suddenly a loud thump came from the neighboring judge's chambers. Till now, the court has been unsure of what could have been the cause of that noise. I think that should be obvious now.
Are you suggesting?
Victor was inside those vents on the day of the murder. At some point while he was inside, he fell right through the trap door.
Order! Hang on, I'm not fully convinced yet.
What now? True that the detective girl fell through the vents, yes. How do we know that the same could have happened to the victim? Oh, Juror 6 didn't mention anything about falling through the vents. Oh, come on, how am I supposed to prove something like that? Actually, I might have an idea about that one. Juror 6? Something around in the dark vents. My hand touched something hard and long. Gave it a nice tug. It was difficult to budge. It was magnetized to the vents. I finally got it loose. A trapdoor opened in front of me, and I was able to climb out. Oh, what exactly did you manage to get loose? I believe it was some sort of stopper put in place to keep the entrances from being opened. Oh. After I made it out of the vents, I put the stopper back in its place on the door. The door then instantly snapped shut the moment I let go of it. Clearly, the entrances are designed to close when no weight is being put on them. Thank you, Juror 6. That's a lot of important information about these entrances. In any case, with the stopper back in place, the trapdoor won't budge anymore. No matter what I tried to get it to open again. However, if the stopper was removed, the trapdoor would open if any amount of weight was put onto it. Okay, wise guy, I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, if you have proof. Proof that the stopper for the trapdoor above the crime scene was removed. You'd finally explain that odd piece of evidence I found. The magnet pole. Very well, Juror 2. I'm ready to give you that proof you want. Here is the proof that the stopper for the trapdoor was removed on that day. It's the pole. Actually, Juror 6, I have a question for you. Ask away, son. That magnetic stopper you removed when you escaped through the vents. Did it have to look anything like this? Ah, that's it. That's it, my boy. That looks just like the stoppers they used for the trapdoors. I knew it. This explains everything. It just so happens I found this stopper in a rather peculiar area. In the underground bunker, to be precise. Ah, what? What did you say? I think the implications of this are rather clear. The only chance the stopper could have been taken to the bunker was sometime before the murder. After all, after the murder happened, the defendant attracted attention to the scene. There'd be no chance to remove the stopper after the murder. So then that means... the victim falling through the vents is the sound the defendant heard that day. And the removal of the stopper proves it was all planned out. Order, please calm down. I have the feeling I should update my notes on this poll. Very good. This revelation changes quite a bit. Alright, decided. I'm going to revise my statement. Okay, one step closer to the truth. Time to start comparing his new statement with the ones made by other jurors. Oh, this actually solves your quandary.
Objection!
These two statements are clearly linked, Your Honor. Yes, I could see it too this time. Me again? Did you just hate me or something? Wait, me again? Already? There's been one question plaguing me ever since a certain question came up. You know, the victim, Corey Rupture, was in the vents on the day of the murder. The big question I ask is, why? Why would the defendant choose to leave the bunker in favor of entering the vents? Yeah, I know, right? It's all way too confusing. Is it really, though? After all we have to do is connect the dots. All we have to do is connect the dots between what we have. That should allow us to arrive at a clear truth. Connect the dots? Whatever do you mean? Juror 5. Ah, what is it? Earlier, you pointed out that in order for the victim to be hung by the pulley, the victim would need to fall through the ceiling to make it happen. Well, yeah, that's exactly what would need to happen after all. Yet it wasn't too long ago that we figured out there's a way for him to do just that. Ah, you can't be serious. It all starts to make sense when you put 2 and 2 together. Why was the victim in the vents on the day of the murder? Why did someone remove the magnetic stopper preventing the trapdoor from opening? Where did the killer hang the victim's body from? These are all questions that have a simple answer. Let's use these blueprints to show what happened. First, the killer set up the pulley inside the vents in advance. And the killer knocked on the victim and stowed him away inside the oh, okay. Finally, the killer tied the rope to the victim's neck. Everything set up, Corey Rupture's death trap was complete. All that was left to do was crank the pulley. With the visual journey complete, everything should now be obvious. Ah, that's... Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it was the killer who put Corey Rupture in the vents. It was the killer who removed the magnetic stopper keeping the trapdoor closed. It was the killer who bolted the pulley to the inside of the vents. It was all a part of an elaborate death trap. Order in the court. But the victim was dragged to his death by the neck inside those tiny vents. That's right. This is the real truth of how Corey Rupture died. Well, surely doing something like that would leave some sort of evidence behind. Yeah, I mean right now, the pulley, the trapdoor, they're so disconnected. That'd be some sort of evidence tying everything together. You're absolutely right, of course. There would be evidence left behind. We know that the victim was in the vents, and we know that the victim was hung. Connecting these two together will see what happened inside the vents. The victim was really dragged by his neck before being hung. No doubt that would leave behind evidence of some kind. Just to figure out what kind. How about a kid? Think you'd present some evidence? I can. Juror 2. Victim being in the vents and the victim being hung. This is the evidence that connects those two events together. I do not know what this is. False. Autopsy report. Victim being dragged to death from the inside the vents. If we assume this is true, there's one place we can expect evidence of this would show up. And where would that be, defense? On the victim's body, naturally. Keep in mind that the victim, Coy Rupture, is being dragged by its neck. With that in mind, it's natural to assume he would have been suffocated before he was hung. Oh, the signs of strangulation. But that's exactly what happened, right? That's right, Juror 5. It's all right here in the autopsy report. It states very clearly that the victim was strangled pre-mortem. The prosecution has theorized that the victim's broken neck was not intended. That the intended cause of death was strangulation or blunt force trauma. However, now we know the truth. The strangulation was just a side effect to the actual cause of death. That being the victim being dragged through the vents until he fell through the trap door. Order, please be calm. I see. It's all making sense now. Your Honor, I'd like to revise my statement, please. Very well, you may do so. Not done yet. There's still a few jurors unconvinced. At least now I've got Juror 5 to see my side. Let's see if her statement clashes with anyone else's now that she's agreeing with me. Let's clash you with Juror 1. Objection! These two jurors are not in agreement, Your Honor. Truly, do tell, Mr. Justice. Me? What are you getting at, Mr. Justice? Me again? Why do you like picking on me so much? Hey, you're my evidence. I swear it's not intentional, Juror 5. Well, anyways. Prosecution's case has been predicated on 3 important factors. Those factors being time, location, and capability. It was killed between 12:30 and 12:50, meaning only the defendant had the time to kill Coy Rupture. The defendant was right next to the crime scene, so only he was in the right location as well. And finally, there's the matter of capability. Right, only the defendant had the strength to break the defendant's neck like that. However, the discoveries made not too long ago have brought a new question up. What if strength was no longer a factor in this crime? What exactly do you mean, Mr. Justice? Talking, of course, about this. The pulley! Before it was thought that the killer would have to use the rope with his bare hands. Therefore, the fact that the victim's neck was broken was a sign of sheer strength. However, we know differently now. We know now that the victim pulley was used to hang the victim. That on its own would have been enough to break the victim's neck. Surely you must be joking. Fortunately, Juror 1, I'm being completely serious right now, and my name is not Shirley. If the pulley really is the device that broke the victim's neck, it knocks down one of the key pillars upon which the prosecution's case rests. Capability. Precisely. With the victim being dragged to his death by a pulley, the defendant's strength ceases to be damning evidence of his involvement. After all, it's not like the killer would need to be particularly strong to set up a death trap. In other words, the idea that the killer had to be unusually strong to commit this crime is complete and total bupkis. Bupkis. Order, everyone, please settle down. So this effectively clears Judge Erie's name, right? Not entirely, I'm afraid. Still a matter of proving that the killer even set up this death trap at all. Even so, I'm sure you'll agree that we can't end this trial here. Well, yes, that would seem to be the case. Hold on, not so fast, dear. Oh, come on, what now? Sure, it's true that someone wouldn't have to be as strong as the defendant or to break the victim's neck. However, the defendant would still have an easier time committing the crime. I've been kidding, she's still not convinced. I guess clear we will need to hear more from you on this matter, Juror 1. Very well, and I will revise my statement. So close I can just tell I am. One more push ought to be enough to finally break through to the jury. Come on, here comes justice. I suppose it would have been... I suppose this is a moot point if this is just a one-off application of this mechanic. But it'd be nice. I don't know. Maybe it's just my nostalgia for the Greatest Attorney games. But nostalgia, is that weird to say? But the one thing about them being present and so forward is that it was neat to see. Like, I won them over. They've changed their vote right in front of me. It'd be nice to see if they could have implemented that somehow. But in this case, the intention seems to be that we're proving a concrete alternative theory, which will win them all over and continue the trial. Even though the goal is still directly to get a majority to change their votes to not guilty, but I feel like we have won most of them over. We're gonna pit you with Juror 4. Now the remote gets involved. These two statements are clearly conflicting, Your Honor, which is the final piece of this theory. What is it this time, Mr. Justice? Me again? What did I say wrong this time? Took you long enough to get to me. Aiden wouldn't have kept me waiting this long. I don't even know how I'm supposed to respond to that. Simp. Getting away from that awkwardness. How the pulley can be used is crucial in figuring out the mysteries to this murder. After all, if it was just a regular pulley that you had to use manually, you still need some upper body strength to use it. Indeed. After all, tugging on a man's body can't be that easy, pulley or not. However, this line of reasoning had one critical flaw. I'm not going to touch that comment. The innuendo is real. The flaw, of course, being that it makes the assumption that this is a manual pulley. Oh, what do you mean? Juror 4 revealed an interesting bit of information in her statement not too long ago. She revealed that this pulley is not actually controlled manually at all. Rather, that it is remote controlled. Oh, that's right. That's right. That's what Aiden said about the pulley after all. I see. So if that pulley was controlled via remote, you can see that Your Honor knows where I'm going with this. With remote-controlled pulley, not even the weakest person alive would be left out. Anyone could use it to kill Cory Rupture. I see. So anyone could have used the remote. Hang on, that still doesn't clear the defendant's name. What do you mean, Juror 2? Sure, the pulley being remote-controlled means nobody needed great strength or to kill Cory Rupture. Oh, you just said that the prosecution's argument rested on 3 pillars. That's right. Time, location, and capability. The pulling being remote-controlled has knocked out capability as one of the pillars. Right, but it doesn't remove time and location. Those 2 factors still implicate the defendant in the crime. Do they truly, though? What do you mean? It's very simple, really. Pulley being remote-controlled doesn't just eliminate capability as a factor. It also eliminates another key pillar in the prosecution's case. This is it. I know it is. It's the final push I need to get this trial back on track. Time, location, capability. Location, it is all in the remote aspect of this. Really give it any thought at all, there's only one true answer. All this time, the defendant being so close to the crime scene at the time of the crime has been the smoking gun. One thing that truly ties him to what happened that day. Indeed, it makes him look rather suspicious. However, the victim actually died by being hung from that remote-controlled pulley. everything suddenly changes. After all, you wouldn't need to be near the pulley to use the remote, would you? Wait, you're not actually suggesting. I am. In truth, it really doesn't matter where the real killer was at the time of the crime. After all, for this crime, location is irrelevant. The truth is that the killer used the pulley's remote to commit a remote murder. No way! That can't be true!
What exactly is going on here? Remote murder? Is it a totally out of his mind? What's that pulley doing in the vents, brother? It all adds up, dude.
Is it really possible? The killer wasn't in the roof and the top murder when the murder occurred?
Order! Order! I will have order! Mr. Justice, this is quite the extraordinary claim you're making.
Really, this was actually a remote murder this entire time. I'm well aware of how it must sound, Your Honor. However, this is where the evidence has led me. The truth is that the pulley was used to hang to a rupture. Using the remote, the killer could have been anywhere inside the courthouse at the time. We assume that everyone wasn't near the crime scene at the time. All were accounted for and had an alibi. The truth is actually the opposite. Everyone in the courthouse on the day of the murder has just become a suspect. It's insane. The jury cannot accept. We will not accept this.
Then you have no right to call yourselves members of the jury.
Oh, Edgeworth. Pardon my interruption of this summation examination. The jury cannot turn away new information like this.
Mr. Edgeworth, I don't understand. Are you siding with the defense on this issue?
Don't misunderstand me, Your Honor. The prosecution still holds true to its case. The defense still has a long way to go to prove its remote murder theory. However, it is the job of our courts to look into every possibility. If the jury refuses to do so, then they have no right to call themselves part of this court. Boom! I agree. We have to find out the truth. This is our biggest priority. If finding that truth defies the will of the jury, so be it. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been given the opportunity to prove one thing to us today, that the common man can help our court blossom further. However, that will never happen if you refuse to hear out both sides of the argument. The choice is yours. Will you help our courts grow, or will you hinder them? It'll be 10 long, grueling minutes until the court would reconvene. I was in the jury room the entire time, listening in on their debate. They finally came to a decision. As the jury finished debating the matter, we have, Your Honor. We are ready to give our individual stances. Your votes, please. Very well, you may do so. Oh boy, here it comes. All right, all together now. Guilty. Guilty. Not guilty. Guilty. Wait, we're going to completely hung? Not guilty. Not guilty. The jury is completely split down the middle. As such, we must declare the jury hung. We decided the trial must continue. I can't believe it. We won over Will Powers, our detective friend, our mystery buff, and our paranormal investigator. I can't believe it, I did it. Got the jury to agree to let the trial continue. The trial proceedings now allowed to continue from where we left off. The court should now accept this new evidence presented during closing arguments. Yes, finally I'm making progress. Now that the trial is to continue, I must ask one question. What is the prosecution's next move? Your Honor, it is clear that we must look into these new claims about a remote murder. We must either debunk or confirm the defense's theory by the end of this trial. And how do you plan to do that? It just so happens, Your Honor, I happen to know who made this Vera time. You do, Mr. Edgeworth. Her name came up during the larceny trial I was involved with on the day of this murder. It may be none other than one Vera Misham. Vera? She made this? I wasn't expecting her name to pop up again to hear. Vera Misham, the former forger? How can you be so sure, Mr. Edgeworth? The Misham mark, Your Honor. Mishams would label anything they made with the Misham mark when they were forgers. It seems the tradition carried over when Vera Misham started making original commissions. The play presented in the larceny trial had the Misham mark on it. took it upon myself to examine this pulley during the summation examination. So he wasn't just sitting there twiddling his thumb. And what'd you find, Mr. Edgeworth? Mission mark was in the exact same place it was for the similar one presented during that trial. I see that there was no room for doubt. This pulley was made by Vera Misham. Unfortunately, she told the court that the person who commissioned these pulleys took careful precautions to remain anonymous. Even so, I can still subpoena her to this court to answer any questions that the defense may have. Never expected to see Vera again so soon. I feel a bit nervous, to be honest. Very well then, this court will take a 30-minute recess to allow for this. During that time, the defense and prosecution are free to look into whatever matters they may desire. Court is adjourned. At the end, to be continued. Da, 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 da. Ah, yeah, there it is. God, this is really fun. Credits? No credits. Credits are undefined. Literally undefined. Because we got the end, so nothing more. That's it. The credits hidden, secret text, secret blue text, brighten up the text in the background. Oh, this is really fun. This is a really good mystery. It was really satisfying, putting that together in the summation examination. And we've got tons of intrigue. Mainly from the premise itself and hearing that to get that this is the death of the jury system, the jurist system. The test failed. The test is going to fail in a very bad way. So we have that to look forward to. We have put together the mystery of the murder. We now have to deal with the aftermath, proving it, and figuring out Aiden's involvement. Which means we're probably going to dig up that details of the past case. This is this is the part where we start getting into the deeper lore that was touched upon in part 1, I imagine, in part 3. God, I know I've been harsher on some van cases recently, were more so and worse than necessary, but I'm really enjoying this one. Wherever part 3 comes along, shoot me a line, I will gladly play it, because I'm into this one. This was fantastic. It's really well put together mystery. It's, again, maybe I just appreciated a bit of signposting you put into this, but you know what? When the story is compelling, the signposting doesn't really matter to me. Hell, even when the story is compelling, and the clues and solutions are obscure, I will fight my way through it just to hope that it makes sense after the fact. But this was not that. This was the best of both. It really hit really well. And the character writing is compelling too. I really like what you were doing with Apollo here. I really enjoyed that. Some really neat touches to his characters that would have made the Apollo Justice trilogy an actual trilogy if we got more of that in the canon games. Let's be real here. God. It's been a while since I think I brought it up briefly in an earlier part of this series, but in terms of connecting the Apollo Justice trilogy into an actual trilogy, just the handling of this case as the death of the Jurist System, it really makes me think what they could have done to it would have been, the timeline wouldn't have worked Yeah, the timeline would not have worked out to make this idea work, but somehow having, like, Black Quill's case in Dual Destinies, the past one, where he took the fall for Athena, for what he believed to be Athena, have some iteration of that. In the case, that wouldn't have worked because that was the case because that was between that and the Gramier case. Those were the cases that quote unquote started the dark age of the law. But did we ever explain why that started the dark age of the law, other than it was a prosecutor who did it, the thing? I'm just sitting here thinking that if you manage to loop that in, or some sort of retrial, or the like, as the case that killed the Jurist System, it's just, I don't know, the whole dark age of the law is kind of silly, and hell, even this case kind of lampoons it, and also makes a good point that it's a media creation. They were the biggest victims along the media were the biggest causes of it along the way. So we have Phoenix getting disbarred, presenting forged evidence. Yeah, like surely someone's made a video essay about the timeline of the emergence of the dark age of the law, but it just feels like that would have been a nice tie-in to somehow tie Blackwell's case into the failure of the Jurist System, and having that be the linchpin which really delves us into the dregs of the dark age of the law. Disgraced attorney, disbarred years ago, tries to push new legal system, gets taken advantage of. Further disgrace. Everything's fucked. We're all gunning for each other. It's a ton of ways that it could have made that work to some degree. But, that's enough about me ranting about something completely unrelated. Tangentially unrelated, because this exists in post-Apollo Justice continuity, and we have the right to rant about the Apollo Justice trilogy not actually being Apollo Justice games. And we have a right to be mad about that. So I will always hold to the fact that the Apollo Justice trilogy is Apollo Justice's trilogy, in the same vein that the Star Wars sequel trilogy is a cohesive story. They just slapped shit upon each other and just made it up as they went along, and the end result is a nonsense mess that has some good moments individually, but as a cohesive whole sucks ass. Like what The Last Jedi did was, I like The Last Jedi. Changed my mind. It had some dumb stuff, sure, but I like what they did with The Last Jedi and how Luke went out. That hit me hard. They could have done something really. They could have done what they tried to do with Last Jedi better, certainly, but to have fucking JJ lame brains, but just completely backpedal on it and deliver the most cookie cutter nonsense, smooth brained finale to the trilogy just makes me sad. Okay, we're getting really digressed here. We went from Apollo Justice trilogy to We did touch on the this mystery that will come in part 3. I'm looking forward to that. I hope you are too. As for what is next in the meantime, I don't really have anything else in the pipeline. I was looking for other goodies, but as it just so happened, something fun just came out completely out of the blue. Mainly because I stopped following the project a while back after I played the demo, despite backing it on Indiegogo. But there is something fun that is now fully out. And now that it is fully out, even if I dropped off of following it, still backed it, and I do have a copy of it. And I think I'll give it a shot. I will give it a shot. I really enjoyed what they were setting up there. At some point or other, I fell in with there's something that came up that really killed my interest for a bit. But we've had time to move all that out of my brain and recharge, so we'll go back into it. We'll give it a shot. It's time to enter the world of Tyrion Cuthbert. We had a lot of fun with that magic and law in fan cases in the past. So, we're gonna have fun with this. Wholesome and good. Let's do this. Until next time. Until then.